In the heart of the bustling city, where the din of daily life drowned out even the whispers of the past, Eliot Crane, a hardened private investigator, found himself summoned to the old, sprawling estate of Hawthorne Manor. Renowned for his knack for solving the most cryptic of cases, Eliot's curiosity, this time, was piqued not by what seemed an ordinary request, but by the strange, cryptic note left on his desk, wrapped around an old, silver key. The note, crisply folded, had just a few words scrawled in a hurried, almost frantic script. "Help us. Hawthorne Manor. Midnight." No signature, no other clues. The handwriting, unfamiliar, yet desperate, pulled at the edges of his instincts. Eliot, intrigued and cautious, decided to take the case, not knowing that this decision would plunge him into the depths of the paranormal. As the clock struck 12, under a moonlit sky, Eliot approached the manor. The building, a vast silhouette against the starry night, loomed ominously. Its windows, dark and uninviting, stared back at him like the hollow eyes of a skull. The wind howled, its mournful cries echoing through the twisted branches of the gnarled trees that lined the path to the front door. The air, cold and damp, smelled faintly of mildew and decay. With each step towards the entrance, the key in his pocket felt heavier, as if it too dreaded what lay beyond the manor's aged doors. Finally, standing before the great wooden barrier, Eliot paused, his hand hovering over the key. The silence was palpable, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. Taking a deep breath, he unlocked the door. It creaked open with a long, mournful groan that seemed to whisper warnings left unheeded. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the musky scent of antiquity. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness, casting long, eerie shadows that danced along the walls. As Eliot ventured deeper, the house began to come alive with sounds. The creak of floorboards, the rustle of curtains, the soft, indistinct murmurs that seemed to drift down from the upper floors. The main hallway led to a grand staircase, its rails polished by the hands of time. At the foot of the stairs, a portrait hung, depicting a family, their expressions stoic, yet their eyes, unsettlingly vivid, seemed to follow his every move. "The Hawthorns," he muttered under his breath, recalling the tales of the family's mysterious disappearance decades ago. Eliot's exploration took him through the main living areas, each room meticulously preserved, as if waiting for its occupants to return. In the library, amidst the musty tomes and faded maps, he stumbled upon a diary. The entries, written in the same frantic hand as the note he had received, spoke of visions, shadows that whispered in the dark, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. Night deepened, and with it, the house seemed to grow more restless. Eliot felt a chill that went beyond the cold night air. It was as if the very walls resonated with a silent scream. Upstairs, the hallway stretched into darkness. His flashlight flickered as he approached the last door on the left. The air here was colder, charged with a palpable tension. He pushed open the door, slowly, the hinges protesting with a sharp screech. The room was shrouded in darkness, save for the light from his flashlight, which seemed to struggle against the oppressive blackness. Then, the air shifted, and a cold gust swept through the room, extinguishing the light from his device. In the darkness, Eliot's ears caught the faint, almost inaudible sound of breathing, not his own. A whisper, ethereal and chilling, brushed against his ear. "Leave." Panic gripped him, but his investigator's instinct anchored him to the spot. He fumbled for his flashlight, his fingers brushing against the cold metal. With a click, the beam pierced the darkness once more, revealing nothing but the empty room. Yet, the feeling of being watched intensified. The whispers grew louder, and shadows seemed to creep along the walls, twisting and writhing like living things. Eliot, heart pounding, realized that the key to solving this mystery lay deeper within these haunted walls, perhaps tied to the dark history of the Hawthorne family itself. His journey into the depths of Hawthorne Manor had only just begun, with more secrets waiting in the shadowy corners. Each step took him further from the world he understood, and deeper into a realm where the past was alive, and the dead, it seemed, were not at rest. This is where our story pauses, but the shadows of Hawthorne Manor have many more secrets to reveal. Should you dare to return? Eliot, his senses heightened, slowly, cautiously made his way back into the hallway, his footsteps echoing ominously in the quiet. The whisper that had urged him to leave now seemed like a distant, yet haunting memory. Despite the warning, his resolve only strengthened. Each room he entered was steeped in silence, the kind that presses in on you, heavy with unspoken words and hidden secrets. The second floor of Hawthorne Manor was less welcoming than the first. Here, the air was colder, the shadows deeper, and every sound seemed amplified, filled with potential menace. Eliot's flashlight, a lone beacon in the oppressive darkness, flickered again, as if struggling against an unseen force. He paused, listening. The house was speaking in its way, through creaks and whispers. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with a slow, steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. He moved toward what appeared to be an old nursery. Toys, their colors faded with time, were scattered across the floor. A rocking horse, positioned in the center of the room, began to move slowly back and forth, as if touched by an invisible hand. Eliot watched, transfixed, his breath forming small, visible puffs in the chilly air. The creaking of the rocking horse formed a ghostly melody that seemed almost intentional, as if trying to communicate something urgent and forgotten. Near the window, the curtains fluttered slightly, though there was no wind inside. Eliot approached, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness to reveal old, hand-drawn pictures taped to the wall. The drawings, crudely done, depicted various scenes: a family holding hands, a bright sun, but also darker images, shadows with eyes, figures without faces, and trees that seemed to reach out with twisted limbs. As he studied these childish artworks, a cold draft swept through the room. The temperature dropped, and the back of his neck prickled with the unmistakable feeling of being watched. He turned swiftly, his flashlight sweeping the room. Nothing. But the feeling lingered, oppressive and tangible. Pushing through his unease, Eliot left the nursery, the images seared into his mind. His exploration took him further down a long, narrow corridor. The wallpaper here was peeling, the floral patterns faded to almost ghostly hues. The floorboards groaned under his weight, complaining at the disturbance. At the end of the corridor was a door, different from the others. This one was newer, the wood less worn, with a modern lock that seemed out of place in the ancient manor. Curiosity piqued. Eliot approached, his hand reaching for the doorknob. Before he could touch it, however, the sound of soft, scuffling footsteps echoed behind him. He whipped around, flashlight raised. The corridor was empty, yet the sound continued, growing fainter, as if something, or someone, was moving away from him. He faced the door again, heart racing. With deliberate caution, he tried the handle. Locked. Not deterred, Eliot pulled out a set of lockpicks from his coat pocket, a necessary tool of his trade. The lock clicked open with ease, a little too easily, it seemed. With a deep breath, he pushed the door open, stepping into what lay beyond. The room was starkly different from the rest of the house. It was an office, modernized, with a computer on a desk, files stacked neatly, and photographs pinned to a corkboard. Here, the air was warmer, the atmosphere less oppressive. Eliot's eyes scanned the room, landing on the photographs. They were of the manor, taken from various angles, and in different lighting. But it was the pictures of people that caught his attention. Some were clearly old, black and white, likely former residents or staff of the manor. Others, however, were recent. Too recent. Eliot's gaze then fell on a series of letters spread across the desk. They were correspondences between the last known descendant of the Hawthorne family and various historical societies. The letters spoke of renovations, attempts to sell the property, and disputes over land rights. But one letter, more recent than the others, was different. It was frantic, mentioning voices, strange occurrences, and an escalating fear. The computer, its screen dark, suddenly whirred to life. The display flickered, then stabilized, showing a document titled Log Entries, Hawthorne Manor Observations. Eliot, curiosity overriding caution, scrolled through the entries. Each was a detailed account of noises, sightings, and unexplainable events. The last entry was dated just 1 week prior. It ended abruptly, mid-sentence, with a final, chilling addition. "I can hear it coming." As Eliot read, the air around him grew colder, the shadows deeper. The sense of an unseen presence intensified, pressing close, as if eager to read over his shoulder. The whispers returned, now clear, insistent, almost angry. The walls seemed to close in, the darkness pressing against the edge of his flashlight beam. Eliot knew he had to delve deeper into the mysteries of Hawthorne Manor, to uncover the truth hidden in its shadows. But as the whispers grew into murmurs, and the cold seeped into his bones, he realized that some secrets might not want to be disturbed. The darkness of Hawthorne Manor was deep, and Eliot was far from seeing the light. The manor held more secrets, more voices from the past, calling out to be heard. His journey was far from over. Indeed, it had only just begun. Eliot, shaken yet determined, closed the document, his mind racing with the implications of what he had just read. The manor, it seemed, was more than just an old house. It was a nexus of unexplained phenomena, a focal point for something beyond the normal confines of reality. The air around him felt charged, heavy with the weight of unseen eyes watching his every move. Eliot turned off the computer, the room plunging back into darkness, and decided it was time to delve deeper into the heart of the manor. With only his flickering flashlight to guide him, Eliot made his way back through the corridor, each step echoing ominously off the walls. He descended the grand staircase to the main floor, his senses on high alert. The atmosphere was oppressive, as if the very air were thick with whispers of those who had once walked these halls. The portraits on the walls, their eyes seemed to follow him, filled with silent accusations and unseen grief. The ground floor was home to an expansive, locked library that Eliot had not yet explored. He approached the large, ornate door, its wood carved with intricate, swirling patterns that seemed to shift subtly under the flashlight's beam. After a few skilled movements with his lockpicks, the door creaked open, revealing a vast room lined with shelves upon shelves of ancient books, the smell of old paper and leather permeating the air. Inside the library, Eliot felt an immediate shift in the air, a chill that went beyond the natural cold of the night. The shelves were filled with books on history, occult practices, and folklore, many of which were rare texts that Eliot had only heard of in hushed tones at university. As he moved deeper into the library, he noticed a particular tome that seemed out of place, newer than the others. It was a detailed history of Hawthorne Manor, annotated with personal notes and bookmarks. As he thumbed through the pages, Eliot found references to the Hawthorne family's involvement in esoteric rituals, believed to contact the dead or harness spectral energies. The notes were frantic, scribbled in the margins, detailing unsuccessful attempts to seal away something that had been inadvertently summoned. The last entry was a plea, a warning about a ritual gone wrong, and a force that could not be controlled, bound to the manor itself. Determined to find answers, Eliot noticed a map tucked between the pages, outlining a hidden room beneath the manor, accessible only through a secret passage in the library. The passage, hidden behind a false bookshelf, revealed itself as he pulled on a disguised lever, the shelf swinging silently open to reveal a narrow, stone staircase spiraling downward into darkness. With every step downward, the air grew colder, the oppressive feeling stronger, as if he were walking into the very heart of the manor's dark past. The staircase ended in a small, circular room, the walls lined with ancient runes and the air thick with the scent of earth and mold. In the center of the room, a stone altar stood, covered in dust and old stains that Eliot dared not identify. As he approached the altar, the whispers grew louder, and the shadows seemed to coil around him, tangible and suffocating. Eliot, realizing he was standing at the epicenter of the manor's haunted history, felt a surge of adrenaline. He knew what he had to do. Drawing from the notes in the book, Eliot began a counter-ritual, intended to seal away the restless energies that permeated the manor. As he recited the ancient words, the air around him began to swirl, the whispers turning into howls of protest. The shadows writhed, stretching towards him as if to stop him, but he continued, his voice steady. With the final word, a sudden silence fell, heavy and complete. The shadows dissipated, the air cleared, and for the first time since he had entered, Hawthorne Manor seemed just an old house, quiet and still. Eliot, exhausted but relieved, made his way back to the surface, the first rays of dawn casting light through the windows. As he left the manor behind, the sun rising behind him, Eliot felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had faced the unknown, walked through shadows, and come out the other side. Hawthorne Manor, now just a part of his past, stood silent and unassuming against the morning sky, its ghosts laid to rest, its secrets sealed once more. But in the world of the paranormal, some doors, once opened, can never be fully closed. Eliot knew this was not an end, but a closure to this chapter of an ever-unfolding story.